Unexpected instructor. The chlorine smell hit Leo full force the moment he stepped through the gate. He loved it, a clean, almost antiseptic tang that promised summer and fun, even though he was technically working. He adjusted his whistle, double-checking that his lesson plan was still tucked securely in his pocket. Butterflies, a whole swarm of them, were doing laps in his stomach. First day jitters, he told himself, nothing more. He laid out his brightly colored kickboards and pool noodles, arranging them neatly by the shallow end. The sun glinted off the water, momentarily blinding him. He squinted, scanning the growing crowd of parents and kids. A familiar shock of pink hair caught his eye. Near the edge of the roped-off lesson area, a woman with a constellation of tiny stars tattooed around her wrist was stretching her arms. Even from this distance, Leo recognized the intricate ink swirling around her bicep, a vibrant hummingbird sipping nectar from a hibiscus. It was Maya. Sam's mom. His stomach did a clumsy somersault, the butterflies staging a coup. Maya, here. For swim lessons. He felt a blush creep up his neck, a warm tide threatening to engulf his face. He'd envisioned teaching a gaggle of splashing toddlers, maybe a few awkward teenagers. He definitely hadn't pictured teaching her. He knew Maya was cool. Everyone knew. Sam had the coolest mom. She played in a band, made pottery, and wore ripped jeans with Doc Martens. He, on the other hand, mostly wore khaki shorts and polos when he wasn't in swim trunks. He smoothed down his own slightly too short polo shirt, feeling a sudden, acute awareness of its blandness. He watched, frozen, as Maya laughed, throwing her head back and revealing a delicate silver chain around her neck. Her easy confidence was both intimidating and something else he couldn't quite name. He'd spent countless afternoons at Sam's house, casually chatting with her about music or art. Now, the thought of instructing her on the proper flutter kick felt absurd, mortifying even. He considered pretending he didn't see her, maybe hiding behind a strategically placed inflatable whale. But no, he was a professional. He had a job to do. He took a deep breath, trying to channel his inner swim instructor, the one who could confidently guide even the most nervous beginner through the water. He walked towards her, his whistle bouncing against his chest with each step. Maya, he asked, trying to keep his voice casual, betraying none of the internal chaos. Hey. I didn't know you were signed up for lessons. Taking the plunge. I haven't been in a pool, properly in, since I was a kid, Maya confessed, fiddling with the strap of her borrowed swimsuit. It was a floral thing, definitely not her usual black, and felt ridiculously bright against her skin. Big surprise, right? Girl with a mermaid tattoo terrified of water. She managed a self-deprecating laugh. Sam's always wanted me to swim with him. He loves the ocean. So, I thought, what the hell? Surprise him. Conquer a fear. Be a cool mom. The instructor, a young guy with ridiculously broad shoulders and a clipboard, cleared his throat. Okay, well, we can definitely work with that. Fear is perfectly normal. I'm Leo, by the way. We'll start with getting comfortable in the shallow end. He trailed off, his eyes widening. Maya. Maya squinted, tilting her head. The swim cap wasn't helping. Leo. Leo Maxwell. Sam's Leo. His ears turned a fetching shade of pink. Yeah. Hi. He swallowed. I didn't realize it was you who signed up. Small world, huh? Maya grinned, a mischievous glint in her eye. So, you're my swim instructor. This is going to be interesting. The interesting started immediately. Leo, bless his heart, was trying to maintain a professional demeanor, but his surprise was palpable. He patiently explained the basics of floating, demonstrating how to relax and let the water support her. Maya, however, sank like a stone. Relax your shoulders, Leo instructed, his voice tight with suppressed amusement. He reached out, his hands hovering near her back. Just, let go. Easier said than done. Maya gasped as the water crept up her face. Panic flared. She grabbed Leo's arm, her knuckles white. I can't. I'm going to drown. Leo steadied her, his grip firm but gentle. You're not going to drown. I've got you. Just breathe. We'll take it slow. He slowly peeled her fingers from his arm, one by one. Try again. I'm right here. Maya took a shaky breath, closed her eyes, and tried to follow his instructions. She stretched out, willing her body to cooperate. For a fleeting moment, she felt a strange lightness, a sense of almost floating. Then, her feet touched the bottom, and she stood up, sputtering. Okay, she said, wiping the water from her face. Maybe, cool mom, is going to take a little longer than I thought. Beyond the surface. The chlorine stung Leo's nostrils as he adjusted his goggles. He caught Maya's eye across the shimmering surface of the indoor pool and offered a nervous smile. Ready to dive in? He asked, instantly regretting the pun. Maya laughed, a warm, throaty sound that echoed in the humid air. Always. Though I'm pretty sure my diving days peaked with the synchronized swimming team in high school. Which, let's be honest, was a while ago. Leo chuckled. Synchronized swimming. That's unexpected. He'd pictured her more as a biker chick, judging by the intricate dragon tattoo snaking up her arm. Hey, don't knock it, till you've tried it. The glitter alone is worth it. She winked. The lesson itself was surprisingly smooth. Maya, despite her initial self-deprecating remarks, was a quick learner, her movements fluid and graceful in the water. Between drills, they chatted, mostly about Sam, but then the conversation drifted. He learned she was a graphic designer, specializing in album art for local bands. So, you're into music? Leo asked, genuinely curious. Obsessed. Anything from Bauhaus to Billie Eilish. What about you? Mostly indie rock, a little classical. I play guitar, badly. He admitted. Badly? I doubt that. You seem like the meticulous type. He felt a blush creep up his neck. Meticulous? I prefer to think of it as, thorough. Maya grinned. Sure, thorough. So, are you familiar with The Cemetery Girlfriends? Leo frowned, racking his brain. Vaguely. Aren't they, pretty dark? Dark and brilliant. Their drummer's a friend of mine. We did the artwork for their last album. Want to hear it? He did. He really did. The thought of sitting down with Maya and listening to music, discussing art, was appealing. More appealing than he'd expected. He suddenly felt a pang of guilt, remembering Sam's slightly bewildered expression when he'd learned about the swim lessons. Maybe sometime, he said, trying to sound casual. Right now, we should probably focus on that backstroke. As they resumed their laps, Leo found himself struggling to concentrate. Maya wasn't just Sam's mom. She was intelligent, funny, and undeniably cool. The dragon tattoo, the quick wit, the passion for music, it was all a carefully constructed surface, hiding a depth he hadn't anticipated. He just hoped he wouldn't drown in it. Sam's discovery. The chlorine smell hit Sam before he even reached the pool deck. He adjusted his swim bag on his shoulder, the familiar way to comfort. He was already mentally prepping his first client, a retiree named Agnes who was terrified of putting her face in the water. He rounded the corner, ready with his most reassuring smile, and nearly choked on his own spit. There, in the shallow end, was Maya. His mom. And beside her, looking ridiculously earnest in swim trunks and a whistle, was Leo. Leo, teaching his mom to swim. Sam stopped dead, a laugh bubbling up his throat. Maya was bobbing awkwardly, her arms flailing as Leo demonstrated a freestyle stroke, his brow furrowed with concentration. The image was too absurd. He strode forward, unable to contain himself. Leo? What in the world? Leo's head snapped up, his face flushing crimson. He sputtered, nearly swallowing his whistle. Sam! Hey! What are you doing here? What am I doing here? Sam echoed, throwing his hands up. What are you doing here, teaching my mom to swim? Did I miss some kind of bizarre role reversal announcement? Maya, oblivious to the brewing awkwardness, grinned. Sammy. Leo's a fantastic teacher. I'm actually making progress. She attempted another stroke, promptly swallowing a mouthful of water and coughing. Sam winced. Progress, huh? Looking good, Mom. He turned back to Leo, a playful glint in his eye. So, this is what you've been up to. Late-night swim lessons with my mother. He emphasized the word, drawing it out for maximum comedic effect. Leo ran a hand through his wet hair, looking increasingly flustered. It's just. Maya wanted to learn, and I'm a certified instructor. It's no big deal. No big deal. My best friend giving my mom private swim lessons. That's, certainly something. Sam couldn't quite place the feeling twisting in his gut. It wasn't jealousy, exactly. More like, surprise mixed with a faint unease. Was this some new level of their friend dynamic he hadn't signed up for? He clapped Leo on the shoulder, perhaps a little too hard. Just messing with you, buddy. But seriously, you owe me one. Imagine the blackmail material I now possess. He winked, trying to keep the tone light, but the words felt heavier than intended. A moment of vulnerability. Okay, everyone, let's try a few laps in the deep end, Leo announced, clapping his hands. A ripple of groans echoed through the natatorium, but Maya just offered him a determined nod. Deep end. Right. She could do this. The tiled floor felt slick and cold under her bare feet as she walked towards the deeper water. She tried not to look at the seemingly endless expanse of blue. Once submerged, the initial coolness shocked her system, a brief, sharp inhale escaping her lips. She pushed off the wall, attempting a graceful freestyle, but the water felt heavier here, the pressure more intense. A knot tightened in her stomach. She was halfway across when the panic hit. A memory, unwelcome and sharp, surfaced, a childhood incident at a lake, the suffocating feeling of being pulled under. Her arms flailed, her breath hitched, and suddenly, the careful instructions Leo had given her seemed to evaporate. Water rushed into her mouth, stinging her throat. The bottom seemed miles away. Through the distorted underwater view, she saw Leo on the edge of the pool, his face etched with concern. He shouted something, but the words were lost in the gurgling panic rising in her chest. She kicked harder, but it was no use. Her limbs felt like lead. Without a second thought, Leo kicked off his shoes and dove in. The water enveloped him, the chlorine scent sharp in his nostrils. He reached Maya in a few powerful strokes, his hand finding hers and pulling her towards him. Her eyes were wide with fear, her body rigid. Maya, it's okay, I've got you, he said, his voice muffled but reassuring. He wrapped an arm around her and towed her back to the shallow end, his own breath coming in short gasps. They reached the edge, and he helped her clamber out, her body trembling. She sat heavily on the side, coughing and sputtering, her usually vibrant hair plastered to her face. Leo knelt beside her, his own clothes soaked and clinging to his skin. Are you all right? What happened? His voice was laced with genuine concern. Maya shook her head, unable to speak for a moment. Panic, she finally choked out. I just panicked. She avoided his gaze, shame washing over her. So much for being the cool, confident mom. Leo gently placed a hand on her arm. Hey, it's okay. It happens. Swimming can be scary. There's no shame in it. His touch was warm and reassuring, sending a strange jolt through her. She finally met his eyes, seeing not judgment, but genuine empathy. And something else, something that made her heart skip a beat. Vulnerability hung in the air, a shared experience that had stripped away the layers of bravado and revealed something deeper, something real. Outside the pool. The lead singer's voice, raw and full of angst, vibrated through Leo's chest. He glanced at Maya. She was swaying slightly, her eyes closed, a small smile playing on her lips. The concert was in a converted warehouse, all exposed brick and throbbing bass. He'd been surprised when she suggested it. He hadn't pictured her liking this kind of music. Then again, he realized, he didn't really know her at all. "They're good, right?" Maya shouted over the music, opening her eyes. "Yeah, amazing." Leo yelled back, grinning. He meant it. And not just about the band. He was having fun. Real, unadulterated fun, outside the chlorine-scented confines of the pool. After the encore, they spilled out onto the street, the cool night air a welcome relief. "So," Maya said, shoving her hands into the pockets of her leather jacket, "did I totally ruin your ears?" Leo laughed. "Not at all. I haven't been to a gig like that in ages. Thanks for suggesting it." They walked in comfortable silence for a few blocks, the city lights blurring around them. "You know," Maya said, breaking the quiet, "when Ben told me you were his best friend, I pictured someone different." "Different how?" Leo asked, a little nervous. "I don't know," she shrugged. "More nerdy, maybe. He always made you sound like you lived in the library." "Hey!" Leo protested, playfully shoving her shoulder. "I'll have you know, I can be plenty unnerdy." He instantly regretted the words. They sounded flirty. Maya just laughed. "I'm starting to see that." She paused. "So, library boy, what do you do for fun besides, saving lives at the pool?" He told her about his photography, about the old film camera he'd inherited from his grandfather, about his attempts to develop his own photos in his tiny bathroom. She told him about her pottery, about the tiny studio she'd built in her garage, about the frustration and the joy of working with clay. He learned that her tattoos weren't just random designs, but each a marker of a specific time or event in her life. She learned that he secretly dreamt of quitting his job and traveling the world, documenting it through his lens. By the time they reached her apartment building, the streetlights were starting to cast long shadows. "I had a really good time tonight, Leo," Maya said, turning to face him. "Me too," he replied, his voice suddenly tight. He wanted to say more, to tell her how much he'd enjoyed getting to know her, but the words caught in his throat. He worried that he was misreading her signals, that he was making a fool of himself. She smiled, a genuine, open smile that reached her eyes. "We should do it again sometime." "Definitely," Leo said, finally finding his voice. "Definitely." As he watched her disappear into the building, he realized that his heart was beating a little faster than it should have been. He wasn't just attracted to her, was he? Festival confessions. Bass vibrations pulsed through Leo's ribcage as he, Maya, and Sam waded into the throng at the summer solstice festival. Twinkling LEDs painted the jostling bodies in an otherworldly glow. Ever gregarious, Sam had already vanished into a knot of revelers sporting matching tie-dye, leaving Leo and Maya in his wake. "Already lost him," Maya commented with a laugh, its timbre roughened by the music's assault. Tonight, she was an unexpected vision in a flowing sundress and floral garland, a far cry from her usual dark aesthetic, yet undeniably fetching. "He'll resurface. Probably with news of the most sustainably sourced kombucha this side of the Mississippi," Leo quipped. A surge of collective excitement rippled through the crowd as the headline act took their positions. Maya seized Leo's hand, drawing him closer. "Come on, Mr. Maxwell, live a little." He allowed her to tow him into the mass, abandoning himself to the beat. Maya moved with surprising fluidity, her hips a natural metronome. Usually plagued by self-consciousness, Leo found himself mirroring her, absorbed by the rhythm and her infectious joy. The music peaked, Maya pivoted, her eyes shimmering in the strobe's erratic flash. A slow, knowing smile curved her lips as she reached for him, her hands settling on his shoulders. Instinctively, his palms found the curve of her waist. For a suspended moment, the world narrowed to just them. The music softened to a drone, the crowd dissolved into an indistinct wash of color. He felt the warmth radiating from her skin, inhaled the delicate blend of sunscreen and a floral perfume. He noticed the gold flecks dancing in her irises, the slight parting of her lips as she held his gaze. An irresistible pull drew him forward, like metal to a magnet. He tasted the electric anticipation hanging in the air. She inclined her head, her eyes locked on his. Inches separated them. Then, a stark realization slammed into him. He envisioned the ensuing chaos, the pain inflicted on Sam. He saw his career, his carefully constructed image, imploding before his eyes. With a visible act of will, he recoiled. Maya blinked, her expression shifting from expectancy to bewilderment, followed by a flicker of comprehension. She retreated a step, her hands falling away. "Wow," she breathed, the word almost swallowed by the din. "That was something." Leo raked a hand through his hair, feeling heat climb his neck. "Yeah. Something." He scanned their surroundings, suddenly hyper-aware of the pulsating mass, the kaleidoscopic lights, the sheer surreality of it all. "We should probably find Sam." Facing the truth. The chlorine smell hung heavy in the air, a stark contrast to the lightness that had been fluttering in Leo's chest all week. He found Maya perched on the edge of the pool, dangling her feet in the water. The vibrant sunset painted streaks of orange and purple across her exposed shoulders, making her look even more luminous than usual. He took a deep breath. "Maya," he began, his voice catching slightly. "I need to say something, and it's probably going to make things weird." She turned, her brow furrowing with concern. "Weird how?" He plunged ahead. I think I'm falling for you." The words tumbled out, a messy, uncoordinated dive. He watched her face for any sign of disgust or amusement, but all he saw was surprise. A long silence stretched between them, punctuated only by the gentle lapping of water against the tiled edge. Finally, Maya spoke, her voice soft. "Leo, I feel it too. That's the problem." He stared at her, confused. "Problem?" "Sam," she said, the name hanging in the air like a dropped weight. "And, the age difference. I'm not exactly a spring chicken, you know. I'm a tattooed rock mom, practically ancient in your world." She tried to laugh, but it sounded strained. Leo moved closer, kneeling beside her. He reached out, hesitant, and gently took her hand. Her skin was warm and slightly rough, a comforting contrast to the cool, smooth tile. "Maya, none of that matters. Sam's my best friend, yes, and that complicates things. But age? Seriously? And you are the furthest thing from ancient. You're amazing." She squeezed his hand, her gaze searching his. "But Sam, he'll be crushed. And what if it doesn't work out between us? I don't want to hurt him, and I don't want to lose him as a friend." He understood her hesitation, the tangled web of emotions and loyalties. "We need to talk to him," Leo said, his voice firm despite the knot of anxiety tightening in his stomach. "Together. Honesty is the only way to navigate this." Maya nodded slowly, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. "Okay," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Okay, let's face this truth together." The setting sun cast long shadows across the pool deck, obscuring their faces, but not the resolve that had begun to bloom between them. Sam's blessing. The aroma of Maya's lavender hand lotion hung heavy in the air, a strange counterpoint to the stale pizza scent clinging to Sam's apartment. Leo perched on the edge of the lumpy sofa, Maya beside him, close enough that their arms brushed. He could feel the tremor in her hand, and his own wasn't much steadier. "So, dude," Sam started, oblivious, already halfway through his second slice. "What's up? You both look like you're about to tell me you eloped with a circus clown." Leo swallowed. "It's complicated." Maya took over, her voice surprisingly firm. "Sam, we need to talk about something important. Something about us." Sam stopped chewing, his brow furrowed. He wiped a smear of sauce from his chin with the back of his hand. "Us? What, are you two finally gonna admit you've been playing competitive thumb war behind my back and I'm missing out on the action?" Leo winced. This was going worse than he'd imagined. "Not exactly, Sam." Maya squeezed Leo's hand, offering him a reassuring smile. "We're dating." The silence that followed was thick enough to spread on toast. Sam's jaw hung open, his eyes darting between Leo and Maya. He looked like a goldfish, all wide-eyed bewilderment. Finally, he managed a choked, "Dating? Like, dating?" Leo nodded, the knot in his stomach tightening. He watched Sam carefully, trying to gauge his reaction. Sam's face cycled through a series of expressions: shock, confusion, a flicker of something that might have been outrage, before settling on a bewildered amusement. He started to laugh, a short, disbelieving bark. "You're kidding, right? This is one of your elaborate pranks, isn't it, Maya? You finally broke Leo?" "I wish," Maya said softly, her gaze locking with Sam's. "But no, we're not kidding. We're happy, Sam. Really happy." The laughter died in Sam's throat. He looked at them again, really looked at them. At the way Maya's hand was intertwined with Leo's, at the soft, almost shy smile on Leo's face, at the genuine affection shining in Maya's eyes. The penny seemed to drop. He leaned back against the sofa, his expression softening. "Wow," he breathed, running a hand through his perpetually messy hair. "Okay. Wow. I honestly don't know what to say." Leo held his breath. Sam looked at Leo, a hint of his usual teasing glint returning to his eyes. "Just, promise me you're treating her right, Maxwell. She deserves the best." Then he turned to Maya, his voice dropping to a sincere murmur. "And you, Mom. You be happy. That's all that matters." He stretched out an arm, pulling them both into an awkward, pizza-scented hug. "Consider yourselves blessed. Or something. Just, don't make things weird, okay?" Leo sagged with relief, the tension draining from his body. He returned the hug, a genuine smile spreading across his face. "Thanks, Sam. That means a lot." Maya hugged Sam tightly. "Thanks, Sammy." Sam pulled away, a playful smirk back in place. All right, enough with the mushy stuff. Who wants another slice?"